Hey guys, this is Dr. Hub. In case you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe for updates. Let's look into the stimuli, and this is for the gastric secretion. So the first one being the vagal stimulation. So under the vagal stimulation, there is a direct pathway. So direct pathway, the vagus nerves, it innervates the parietal cells and it stimulates the H+ directly. The neurotransmitter at these synapses is the acetylcholine, and the receptors on the parietal cells is the muscarinic, that is the M3. The second messengers for the CCK are IP3 and an increase in calcium, increase of calcium. Next, we move on to the applied aspects. Applied aspects is there is atropine. Atropine is a cholinergic muscarinic agonist, and it inhibits the H+ secretion by blocking the direct pathway, which uses the acetylcholine as a neurotransmitter, and it does not block the H+ secretion completely. No complete block. And this is because it does not inhibit the indirect pathway. So does not inhibit the indirect pathway, and which uses the GRP as a neurotransmitter. So it uses GRP, which uses GRP as a neurotransmitter. Next, we move on to the indirect pathway. So here in indirect pathway, there is a vagus nerve innervates the G cells, and stimulates the gastrin secretion. And then it leads to the stimulation of H+ secretion. So in direct pathway, the vagus nerve innervates the G cells, whereas in direct pathway, the vagus nerve, it innervates the parietal cells and stimulates H+ directly. So here the G cells are innervated and stimulates the gastrin secretion, and which then stimulates the H+. So next is the neurotransmitter at these synapses is nothing but the GRP, and it is not acetylcholine. Whereas in case of direct, it was acetylcholine, here it is GRP. So the applied aspect is vagotomy. So in case of vagotomy, it eliminates both the direct and indirect pathways. Now we move on to the gastrin. So what is the mechanism of the gastrin? So in case of gastrin, there is a relapse in response to eating a meal. So it is relapsed in response to eating a meal, and the small peptides, the distension of the stomach, and the vagal stimulation. This includes the small peptides, the distension of the stomach, as well as the vagal stimulation. Next is it stimulates the H+ secretion by interacting with the cholecystokinin. So it interacts with cholecystokinin, cholecystokinin B. So stimulates H+ secretion by interacting with the cholecystokinin B receptor on the parietal cells, P cells. So the second messenger for the gastrin on the parietal cell is nothing but the IP3. So it includes the IP3 or the calcium. Lastly, we look at the histamine. So histamine is released from the enterochromaffin cells, the ECL cells, and in the gastric mucosa, and it diffuses to the nearby parietal cells. So it is in the gastric cells and it diffuses to the nearby parietal cells. So stimulates the H+ secretion by activating the H2 receptors on the parietal cell membrane. So H2 receptors, they are the ones which are activated. Next is the H2 receptor is coupled with the adenyl cyclase via the GS protein. H2 receptor, they are coupled with the adenyl cyclase. So after the adenyl cyclase coupling with the GS protein, and then is the second messenger for the histamine is CAMP. This is also important. CAMP becomes the second messenger for histamine. So what are the applied aspects? Applied aspects is the H2 blockers like the cimetidine. They inhibit the H+ secretion by blocking the stimulatory effect of the histamine. To learn and grow daily like this, please do subscribe.